My name is Sam Winship, and today I want to talk about the eutrophication process in the Gulf of Mexico and the dead zones that are spawned as a result. Many people don't know this, but every summer a huge part of the Gulf of Mexico runs out of oxygen completely. Fishes leave, crabs and shellfish die, and the area becomes what scientists call a dead zone. This is caused by something called eutrophication, and even though it happens in the ocean, it typically starts on land. Eutrophication happens when too many nutrients, mainly nitrates and phosphates, enter a body of water. These nutrients come from fertilizers, animal poop, sewage, and polluted stormwater. And when it rains, water washes these nutrients into streams and rivers and carry them into lakes and oceans. Once the nutrients reach the water, they cause the algae to grow very fast, which creates blooms. At first, this might not seem very harmful, but once the algae die and they sink to the bottom, the bacteria break them down. That process uses lots of oxygen for the water, and as the oxygen levels drop, the water becomes hypoxic, which means there is not enough oxygen for most organisms to survive. Fish either leave or suffocate, and bottom-dwelling organisms die, and therefore a dead zone is created. One of the biggest sources of these nutrients is agricultural runoff. Farmers use fertilizers and manure to help crops grow, but plants don't just absorb all of it. So when it does rain, the extra nutrients are washed off the fields and into the rivers. Another major source is sewage and wastewater. Even treated wastewater still contains nutrients, and leaks or overflows can release even more into the environment. Urban stormwater runoff also plays a role, washing fertilizers, detergents, and waste from streets and lawns into drainage systems and waterways. The environmental impacts of eutrophication are serious. Dead zones reduce biodiversity, kill fish and shellfish, damage underwater habitats, and disrupt food webs. Socially, coastal communities are affected because many people depend on fishing for food, income, and even culture. When the fish populations drop or move away, it threatens livelihoods. Economically, eutrophication costs millions of dollars each year due to lost fishing revenue, reduced tourism, and the expense of monitoring and water treatment. A major real-life example is the Gulf of Mexico dead zone. It forms near the mouth of the Mississippi River, especially off the coast of Louisiana. The Mississippi River drains about 40% of the continental United States, runoff from farms, cities, and industries across the country. Every summer, this nutrient-rich water enters the Gulf and fuels into a massive algal bloom. When these blooms die, oxygen levels drop, which creates one of the largest dead zones in the entire world, sometimes covering thousands of square miles. This has led to a decline in shrimp and fish populations and has destroyed marine ecosystems, which has led to economic losses for the Gulf fisheries. To respond, scientists and governments have monitored oxygen levels to encourage a cleaner farming practices with cleaner wastewater treatment to restore and clean the water. Several solutions exist to reduce eutrophication. One is reducing fertilizer use and applying it more carefully. This lowers the amount of nutrients entering waterways and is low in cost. It typically takes lots of time and cooperation to see results. Another solution is creating buffer zones and even restoring wetlands. These natural systems trap and absorb nutrients before they can reach the river. They are both very effective and sustainable, but can be very extensive and slow to establish. Improving sewage treatment is another important solution. Advanced treatment can remove large amounts of nutrients from wastewater, but upgrading facilities requires major financial investment and long-term planning. The most sustainable solution is preventing excess nutrients from entering the water in the first place, especially by changing farming practices and protecting wetlands. Current strategies are limited because they are costly, slow, and difficult to enforce across such a large area. Value systems influence how societies respond. Anthropocentric view focuses on protecting human jobs, food supplies, and economies, while an ecocentric view prioritizes protecting the ecosystem within the Gulf. Long-term success depends on balancing both these perspectives. The Gulf of Mexico is a dead zone. It shows how closely connected land and ocean systems are. What happens on farms and cities thousands of miles away can directly affect marine life hundreds of miles away. Eutrophication is a very serious problem. With better management and long-term solutions, the impacts can be reduced.